Welcome to Overcome Yourself, the podcast, where we rewrite stories, shift mindsets, and make dreams come true. I'm your host, Nicole Tuxbury. Let's get into today's episode. Hello, and welcome back to the next episode of Overcome Yourself, the podcast. As you know, my name is Nicole, and I'm so excited to be back here today with Patricia and Patricia Mayo. Welcome. You were a guest on this podcast many years ago. What feels like yesterday, but is also like 4 years ago or even more. So welcome back, because I think you were in the first year and we are in the fourth year of this podcast. So welcome back. Go ahead, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are and who you help.
Aloha! Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's been 4 years. So,
Thanks.
yeah, oh my gosh. So, I am a Hawaiian business strategist. I help you to build your business around your values, around what really matters to you and your customers so that you can actually serve them. And so, this kind of begins with the whole like more better decisions aspect, tuning your gut. I work a fair bit with tuning your decision making matrix and so forth. And it's really all about getting your hands free so you can be naturally outstanding. That is the ultimate goal of the business design that I do. Oh my gosh, congratulations on 4 years. Holy cannoli. I didn't realize it had been
Yeah.
that long. Wow.
Yeah, my podcast started. I have the exact date, but I remember the last Podfest I got my 4-year pin. So we looked it up and it had been 4 years. So and you were like one of the first guests that I had. So yeah, it's been about that. Maybe long.
And just like me, I'm sure your business has gone through a little bit of evolution too.
A
You're
lot.
still you still do events, you still do coaching and things like that, but now you're like gearing more into like actually making things with your hands, which is crazy exciting.
Love it. Yeah, and you got to speak at several of the events that I've put together. So you are definitely a returning guest. So we love that. We appreciate you coming back. We love having you. So talk to me about this whole thing. You're talking about more better decisions. You were talking about more better business. So can you tell us a little bit about what is more better first and foremost? Because some people are thinking, well, that doesn't sound like a good English, quote unquote, right? But it is how do I put it?
Intentional.
Good theory, good logic. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the background of that and then what it means for us in business.
Yeah, definitely. So more better comes from my background in Hawaiian, the mo better, right? Hawaiian and mo better is a quicker, easier way of doing something. So instead of sitting here with your whole like Venn diagram, and spreadsheets, and all this other information that you don't really need, we can work with what you got, you know, because every single time that you've had these gut feelings, right? And you get this gut feeling and you're like, not sure if I should do that. And then you don't do it. What happens then? You regret it, right? You already have a decision making tool built into you. And if it's not tuned, you're going to ask yourself questions like, should I file that complaint against the company that screwed me over? Should I do the thing that actually makes sure that my deals are actually going to, be sustaining? Should I do this thing? If you're sitting here asking yourself, should I do this thing? And you're still asking that question, that gut response is what you need to tune, because so often what we end up doing is oh gosh, two big things that are really scary to me these days that I see people doing, and I'm like, don't do that. Okay. That when you get that initial gut response, and it's a very strong one, negative or positive, right? So you're like, I hate that thing immediately, or wow, I'm so excited, I love that thing immediately. Those are both bad. Those are both things that you need to stop and question, because that immediate knee jerk, oh, I hate that thing, that is your body saying, that's too new. We can't do that. But if you've been in business any amount of time, you know that in order to get different results, you have to take different actions. So if your immediate gut response is saying, no, let's never do that, then it's a very new thing. And it's your body saying, this does not look familiar. This does not look like survival to me. It's our job to then say, wait a second, it's okay. I got my back. We can proceed through this thing because I know that as soon as you do the thing that terrifies you most, you'll be unstoppable and finally at home. Okay. So that knee jerk negative response is your key to freedom. And that knee jerk positive response of, I'm so excited, I can't wait, da 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 da, is also bad because you're running right straight towards a red flag. Again, your body is tuned to what's familiar as survival. And so if you're seeing this thing as the most exciting thing for you, maybe possibly it's you just repeating a pattern. And if you want different results, take different actions. Don't follow that exciting thing. You don't know enough, right? So there's a more better way to make decisions. And it's by being connected with that decision tool in your body.
Yeah. And you bring up such an important point of our brain is trying to keep us safe. Those feelings, those thoughts is the knee-jerk reaction that our brain has because it says, like you said, red flag, oh my gosh, alert, something's going on here. This is, caution. And so I've had to talk myself through that, right? And like I know this is scary, but we are doing this to be safer because if you continue down this path, these are the unsafe things that are going to happen and your brain's like, "Oh, you're right." So we're going to take this leap. We're going to do this thing even though it's scary, and then this is what we're going for so that we can be safer. And sometimes you just have to acknowledge, hey, thank you. Like, even have gratitude in that moment. Thank you for keeping me safe. I know that that's what you're trying to do. I'm not mad at you. And I think that that's speaking also to our inner child, right? Because they're in there and they may have gotten in trouble for this once, or they remember a backlash from something that happened, or, there's so many things that we associate and events that happen, and then we create these walls for ourselves, right? And so our inner child is in there screaming, "This is scary. We got in trouble for this. Something bad happened when you tried it." And you were like, "Wait, hold on. That, maybe so, but what if something great happens? What if like this does work out? What if this is true? What if you are good enough?" And you start asking different questions and you're able to look at it differently. So I think that's really, really important. Um,
Oh,
and you
definitely.
have to acknowledge it first, though, right? Like you said.
Yes. Yes. It's all about an acceptance. And see, a lot of what people get wrapped up in is that like they feel like life is so hard, that everything is so hard, that everything is so difficult. And what I'd like to propose is what if the thing itself is not difficult? What if what's making it difficult is your resistance to doing it? What if what's making it difficult is you yourself saying, I don't want to do that. I can't do that. Or the last time I did that, it went this way. And if instead you took it, I'm not necessarily the most biblical person, but this is probably my favorite biblical quote for this thing, which is that until you are as a child, you will never inherit the kingdom of God. So if you get to be curious about this rather than judging it like an adult would, if you go, well, maybe what if the result that I want is not even as good as it possibly could be? If I just surrender to what could be, and if I just accept that this is what's in front of me and walk through it because it's in front of me, you know what? Life gets a lot easier at that. And it's also about accepting your feelings, accepting your thoughts, because your thoughts and your feelings are not you. Your thoughts are actually a result of every single cell in your body forming this message to then be interpreted by this fatty head noodle up here. Okay. So your thoughts are not you, right? Your thoughts are the result of everything that you've experienced. So if you're sitting here trying to direct your thoughts and trying to say, no, you're wrong, you're fighting yourself. You're resisting what is true coming from your body. The truth is coming from your body. And if you accept it and say, yes, thank you for keeping me safe, and recognize that and walk through with it, guess what? You get to be your own best friend for the rest of your life. See?
Can you give us an example? Because we're talking about like abstract ideas. So can you give
Yeah.
us an example of what that looks like in real life? Like maybe something you've gone through with a client or something?
Yeah. So for me, I've been very open about my many numerous legal battles throughout my life. So and what's ironic is that my first choice for career was attorney. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to work for JAG and be in the Navy and be an attorney. But that got, taken away from me by family history. So just because of my mother and my half brother having a certain disease, I couldn't go to the military and be in the Navy and get my education to be an attorney. And that was my only path. So for a lot of years, I was very resentful of everything legal. Anything legal, I ran. All right. And it wasn't something that was a conscious choice. It was just a, man, I hate that thing, and I would avoid it forever, and then realize, oh gosh, I never did that. Right. And so the things just kept piling up, and then all of a sudden I find myself in a 14-year court battle, you know, where I have this mountain of legal things to take care of. And no matter what I do, it doesn't seem like it works out. And I'm having flashbacks to every single thing that's happened to me where I voiced what I want and it got taken away from me anyway. Like all of these things coming up again. And then I start waking up with anxiety. I woke up every single morning for 5 years before my alarm to a panic attack, ringing ears, can't breathe, on and on. And I'm in the middle of this 14-year court battle. And not only that, I realize that I have no support around me. This is the thing, is that it piles up. Okay. If you keep ignoring this thing that is like, you know what, that's not relevant to me. That's not important to me. That's not something that I need to do, or that's not even fair. So I'm not even going to approach it. It piles up and it becomes more dangerous than you are to it. And so I ended up suffering with anxiety for 5 years. And it wasn't until Winston Churchill on an NPR, I was listening to NPR, when a Winston Churchill quote came across the radio that was, sometimes it is not enough that we do our best. We must do all that is required. And that changed everything. And so now what I actually do is I do high stakes negotiations. What I actually do is the compliance, the way that we present our offers to then be legally compliant. What I do a lot of the systems behind it so that you can defend what you've done, track the actions, track the communications, so that you can defend your deals, so that you can actually operate in good faith. All right. I develop all of these things with a 100% track record of fighting chargebacks at this point. And absolutely nobody has come to me and succeeded at a chargeback against me. And in 30 plus years of business, I was taking that for granted. You know, I was taking for granted the fact that that was just the way that I operated, that I always operated in good faith. And then that was why I was able to always defeat these chargebacks, right? And then also I started doing this for other people. I had a publisher client who had a major celebrity battle, and I managed to help them to not lose that multi-million-dollar deal. This has happened many times. I've gone up against the army and enabled my client to actually get paid the shipping that they were saying that they shouldn't pay. There are many, many ways where now I'm just involved in the legal, right? Whereas I could have spent my whole life ignoring that that was my magic, that that was the thing that was right in front of me. I could have just kept running from it. I could have just kept, ignoring it and fearing it. I could have just kept saying, like, this doesn't feel good. I'm not good at this. I'm not going to be able to pursue this, right? I could have kept doing that. But instead, I went in the opposite direction. My knee-jerk reaction was, I don't want any of this. I don't want to ever file any of this. I don't want any can of worms of illegal kind in any way, right? So I went in the opposite direction. I flipped that script. And now what I do is I actually help with advocacy, not only in terms of business advocacy, but I'm also power of attorney for veterans in transition. And I'm helping them to get their full disability. So like, this is now what I do 100% of my time. I'm helping people to purchase systems and things that are actually suited to their values. I do purchasing advisement. There's all of these things that I do now that are core to my expertise, that are core to what I do, because I stopped ignoring the fact that my magic is somewhere between the thing that I take for granted, 100% of chargebacks never succeeded, and the thing that I think is impossible, everything legal. I got over myself and I decided that I was going to face my music. And the moment that I did that, Lottie, my business has been stable for the last 2 years. I can pay every single bill. I'm not concerned about where my next meal is coming from. Heck, I know for fact that for the next 5 years, all of my bills and meals are paid for. No concern whatsoever, because I learned the legal that enables me to do this. And it made it so that I am more dangerous than anything that would endanger me.
Nice. I love that. Um, that's really powerful. And I love how it's still a cross section of your dream, right? Because you wanted to do stuff related to law and you wanted to do that in the military. And so now you get to help people in the military with the law. And so it's just not exactly maybe the way that you had pictured it, but it's kind of a pivot. It's kind of a variation on what you wanted to do. And so it's like you coming around full circle. And so being able to accept it in a different way, right? Because you also have to be like, well, no, like you said, you could have been like, no, like I tried that and it's not for me. But you didn't let that get in the way. You allowed yourself to do it in a different way, and you kind of went with the flow, like you said. And it makes me think of like surfing, with you being Hawaiian, of Hawaiian ancestry. And surfing is hard. Like people think it's like, oh, you just paddle out. Paddling out is one of the hardest things that you will ever try to do. And you might not even be able to get to the standing up on the surfboard if you're not strong enough to paddle out, right? But then once you're out there and you catch a wave and you're manage balancing yourself, it's beautiful. It's amazing. It's out of this world, right? Um,
I've
and
actually
and that
gone surfing. It's not like
but
in an
going
ocean.
with the flow, you're going with the flow, and it's not in the traditional way. It's like it's harder, but it's so worth it. It's beautiful and it's a little bit different. But you get to make magic on those waves and you get to go with it. So that's so cool. I love that.
It's interesting, couple of points though. So like, for one, I want to talk about like how I actually did go surfing, and for two, I want to talk about crayons.
Okay.
So uh so I actually did go surfing, and this is actually really relevant, right? Because I went to one of those indoor surfing places. Now, I was born and raised in South Florida. You're not going surfing in South Florida, not unless you got a boogie board. Okay, we get baby waves. Okay,
Mhm.
so I never actually went surfing growing up, but I was a water baby. I would swim for miles upon miles. And then when I lived in New Hampshire, I went to this indoor surfing place with this one dude who went snowboarding all the time. So as we're going there, and I bought the tickets and I invited him. That another story for another day. So as we're going there, he's like, "Yeah, this is gonna be no problem for me. I snowboard all the time. I'm gonna kick butt with this thing." And I'm like, I've never done this before. Okay, this is again being like a child, right? I've never done this before. I'm just gonna give it a shot. All right. And so, guess who actually got to stand on that board for more than 5 seconds? All right. I stood on that board for a solid minute 30 seconds before I fell one time. I was, oh my God, so proud. Okay. And that's just it. There's a trope in cooking competitions. I can't watch cooking competitions anymore because I noticed that every single time the chef is like, "Oh, I got this. I've done this 1,000 times." They're the next one eliminated,
Mm-hmm.
right? That kind of attitude is what's going to bury you eventually, right? And that's kind of the same thing with the second point I want to get into, which is crayons. So you had mentioned, like, sometimes you just got to find your own way, that the traditional way, didn't really work for you. I would argue that maybe the traditional way was never built for you. That if you are trying to do things in the way that they told you was the paved road and finding that it's just, so much brick wall, it's probably because it is actually a brick wall. Okay. And this is why I call crayons. I call this is my crayons concept. Okay. If you go get yourself a nice box of artisanal crayons, I'm not talking Crayola because they don't do this. But you could. You can get yourself a box of nice artisanal crayons and a box of Crayola crayons and put them next to each other, okay? And if you really understand color theory, you'll see that the Crayola crayons don't have a regular gradation of hue, and they're not really matched. They don't coordinate. They don't work together. The nice artisanal box of crayons, though, are very carefully coordinated to work together and make a picture that it doesn't matter which crayon you pull out of that box, it's going to work with it. And that's what I mean is that, like, the rest of business, the way that business teaches, the way that Harvard teaches business is your Crayola box of crayons. And that in order to actually succeed and really go places, you got to figure out what really coordinates with you and move in that direction. And it's not necessarily going to be what people told you is the way that it's going to work. One of my favorite, like, uh, I guess, life hack lessons is that it's very, very easy to tell um, when you're using a borrowed thought. Like whenever you're thinking a thought that is not your own, okay, it's very easy to tell a thought that is not your own. It's negative. Every single negative thought that you have about yourself is a record that you're borrowing from somebody else, that somebody else told you. Okay. So if you're sitting here saying, I can't do that, it's a borrowed record. You got to find your coordinating crayons.
That's powerful. That's really good. Um, and I love the point you make about the Crayola box of crayons because it's so true. Like I'm not great with like colors and art, like not my thing. But when you try to color with the Crayola crayon, sometimes the colors you're like these are clashing. Like what is this? Um and so yeah, so it makes a lot of sense. And I remember that when I went to visit my sister, she had what I don't they're markers, like oil markers or I don't know. I don't remember what they were. Watercolor pens, maybe? I don't know. No, it wasn't that. I got some, but each box was coordinated, and so it had like certain colors in there, and I guess they all matched together. And so she had to get like a bunch of different sets so that she could have, all the different colors, because the orange from this one is not going to match with the orange from the other one or whatever. So that makes a lot of sense that you know, yeah, when you go to school, it's kind of like a Crayola box. They just kind of give you a little bit of everything. And then as you get older, as you start like really narrowing down your expertise, um you start getting, like books of a certain, like whatever your industry is, for example, right? Because a doctor is not going to see read the same books as a lawyer. Like you're both in college, you're both learning, college related things, but it's going to be totally different and they're not going to overlap, they're not going to match. Um so yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Huh. You just got me thinking. So that's kind of cool.
Um,
Anyway, Um, yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, um, we were talking about, I don't remember which one it was. What came to my mind was that tracker that you made for the summit. Anyway, but do you have a gift for the audience? Like, were you going to talk about something?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, so right now I'm rebuilding certain things. And I'm just thinking, like, what sort of gift do I want to give the audience? Oh my word, there's so many things. The tracker would probably be a good thing, and I'm rebuilding it too. I'm actually rebuilding it into more of a publicity and sales tracker. So it's getting new tabs. But you know what? Okay. The author's more better keeper. Now that I'm redeveloping it into a business more better keeper, I think I
Well,
can get.
why don't you just have two different keepers?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, okay, okay, okay. I was
Yeah.
gonna say like don't get rid of the first one because the first one is like we're talking about, right? For
Yeah.
the authors, and then this
Yeah.
one's for the coaches or the online business owners. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, all right. So link to that will be down in the show notes. Awesome. And final tip. So based on everything we've talked about today, biggest tip you have for listeners.
Hmm. I already mentioned that our very strong knee-jerk reactions are to be questioned, right? The true statements from our gut come with a hmm. The very true statements from our gut are a lot more subtle. And if you are sitting here questioning and debating as to whether or not you should do something, ask yourself, do I want to sit here with a lifetime of regret that I shoulda, coulda, woulda, or take the 10 minutes to handle it? It's a good question to ask yourself.
Hmm. Um, since you brought up Bible stuff, one thing that came up for me was um God is does not correlate with confusion. God is
Yes.
peace. So if you're trying to make a decision and you're feeling confused, that's not of God. And so take some time to think about it because God is of peace. So if you're confused about something, that's a really good sign that you need to think about it more. Um,
Yeah, God
so
does not come with confusion. God comes clearly. And this is the thing. If you're working with someone and you're like, "Ooh, I'm getting mixed signals," walk. If you're working with someone and you're like, "I'm confused about what I should do," walk. If you're working with someone and you're like, "I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing," walk.
yeah,
Okay? Because that's your gut being confused, and that's a terribly bad sign.
yeah. Um, book that comes up that is talking about making the decisions and kind of really understanding what's going on. Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. I don't know if you've read it.
Hmm.
Um, but
Malcolm
it's
Gladwell's a good guy.
yeah, love his books. That one in particular though, it's Blink, the power of thinking without thinking. And it's really learning to communicate with that subconscious because there's so much stuff in there going on and really learning to read those signals. It's a book I talk about all the time, but I think it's so related to our intuition and to just what we're talking about today and really
Um,
learning to hear yourself, right? Because it's in there.
actually Malcolm Gladwell's methodology on talking to your subconscious is a big part of why I do my values compass the way that I do it now. And so I'm developing that subconscious language to a conscious level so you can get it out in front of your eyes. And even if you're not connected with your gut, even if you don't have that instinctual response and know what it means, because it's always going to be a different feeling for everybody. I can't tell you that the pit in your gut is bad. You got to learn that for yourself over time, right? And the way that you learn that is by actually like pursuing things that you think will do a certain thing and then feeling how you feel after. So in order to actually develop that, I personally, since 1998, used an exercise called, I don't even remember what it was called at the time, but I've called it the values compass or my awesome compass ever since. And because I've modified it a little bit more, because the way that it was set up was a little bit very like it would give you 20 core values and things like that. I get you focused on just your 3 core values, a little simple mnemonic, okay? And I'll give you my 3 core values, right? Number 1, awesome expression. So in any way that I can create an awesome expression, share an awesome expression, create an awesome expression, empower an awesome expression, I'm there, okay? Number 2 is about the continuum of learning and teaching. That in order to teach, you have to learn, and in order to learn, you have to teach, okay? And number 3, which is, by the way, what I'm doing right now, right? Learning about you, right? And then number 3, in order to have discernment, right? We have natural discernment, right? There is discernment in nature, and if we follow the blueprint within nature, we actually work with our nature, right? So those are my 3 core values, and that I've been able to pursue and be able to get to a point where in 2023 I got to wake up in myself and fully aware and like it's so difficult to describe that for someone who's never experienced it. But once if you haven't landed in yourself, you're experiencing all of life as if you're behind a glass bottle. That's the one thing that I tend to see a lot of people experiencing is like, I feel like all of the world is just on the other side of glass for me. And I don't quite feel it, right? That's what it feels like to be somewhat disconnected from that tuning fork of self. And so once you go through a few years of that active practice of working with your values, you do eventually land in yourself. And that's exactly what he talks about in his books as well.
Love it. And that's why I talk about gratitude all the time. It's about bringing you back to the right here and right now, because that's what I had to use to come here right now, right? Because when we're depressed, we're living in the past. And so you're stuck in this fogginess and things are happening in front of you, but you're stuck in your mind, or you're anxious and you're stuck in the future and there's still this fogginess and you're not here. Like the TV's on and like you see it, but you're not registering it because you are so far deep in your own head and you're just kind of going through the motions. I've been there. I've been there recently. It sucks. And so that's one of the things that I use to anchor myself and to bring myself back around is gratitude, because that's what brings us back into the moment. And like we have to talk to our doctors, make sure your vitamins are good, because sometimes all it takes is just some vitamins. Um, but yeah. And you come into the here, into the now, and then it's crazy because it's exactly what you're talking about. Actually, like feeling it, enjoying it, like just
Oh,
being in
yeah.
the moment so that you're not looking back and be like, man, like I was on vacation and I was so worried about checking my email that I didn't even, like I was
That's,
swimming with a dolphin or whatever, I don't know, whatever you do on vacation. And I wasn't
yeah.
even with a dolphin. Like I didn't even take a picture. You don't want to live like that. So yeah, I think that's really good advice.
Oh, definitely. And it's a huge part of my process too. Like, this is one of the things that I deeply, deeply encourage. Don't even take the little things for granted. If you're thirsty and you get up and you get some water and you drink it, celebrate that.
Yeah. Um, Celebrate just getting the water in the cup.
Yeah.
It's not even about drinking the water. You get to celebrate. Like that's one of my
I
other
got
guests
up to
talks
get
about
water.
tiny habits. Yeah.
I stopped what I was doing. I got up to get water. Yay. I'm
Yes.
at the sink filling my water. Yay. I'm sitting with
Yeah.
my water. It's next to me. Yay. I drink my water. Yay.
Yeah.
The water's gone.
Literally.
Yay.
Like that is when we talk about the little things, right? Like that is just such a good demonstration of how like there's literally so many things to be grateful for. in any moment, like even just something as simple as grabbing some water from the kitchen, and without even having to compare yourself, because a lot of people are like, there's people that don't have it. I'm like, I don't even want you to you're running into comparison worlds, and that's not going to help anybody. I'm talking about you in this moment right now, regardless of anybody else, what anybody else does or doesn't have. What are you grateful for in this moment? And so just being able to stand up and run to the kitchen, that's something to be grateful for. Opening the faucet or grabbing a bottle or whatever it is, however you get water, be grateful for that. Like it doesn't have to be because
Today.
anybody else does or doesn't have it. It's in right now. It's right now. You get to quench your thirst. You're doing something good for your body because your body needs water. Like there's so many, just you could go down a rabbit hole of
I
goodness.
woke up today. I woke up today. Hallelujah, freaking Luya, I woke up today. You know? I can open my eyes and I can see. Oh, thank you for the sight. I can smell. I can breathe. Oh, thank you for the smelling and the breathing. There's so many freaking things. Holy crap, the sun came up today. Wow. So many things to be grateful for. Just
Yeah.
notice them. And that's 9/10 the battle.
Yeah, yeah. And then somebody's gonna be like, well, the sun always comes up, and that is taking it for granted, right? And that and I know it's so weird, but it's and we're wrapping up here, but it's going back to what you said earlier, seeing everything as a little kid. Like if it's the first time you're seeing it and just enjoy it. Like, yeah, the sun comes up every day, but like you have it right here, right now, and maybe you don't wake up tomorrow. But you got to enjoy the sun right here, right now, in the moment that you had it. And so, yeah. So thank you. Thank you. This has been just kapow, just an amazing conversation. So thank you for joining us, Patricia, and we will catch you guys next time on the next. Oh, how do they follow you on social media? We didn't say that.
Yeah. So facebook.com/awesome brains, AWESUMBRAINS. Facebook.com/awesome brains. You could also potentially, if you wanted to just go ahead and sit down and have a meeting with me and like really talk, I'm very open about that. Go to mayobrains.com/meet, MEET. You can get a free 30-minute meeting with me. And if you prefer, you can put down a $1 bond for a non-disclose agreement.
Nice. All right. And thank you so much. And like I said, we'll catch you guys next time on the next episode of Overcome Yourself, the podcast. Bye. Thanks again for tuning in to Overcome Yourself, the podcast. Stay bold, stay grateful, and keep becoming your best you. For more information and resources from me, Nicole, head over to nicoletexberry.com/resources. See you next time.